There we go. All right. Today we're taking a little bit more of a look at equations of hyperbolas. We're going to look at writing the given like the vertices and like the foci or something like that, or the like maybe given A and B, or given the length of the transverse axis, or things like that, and the vertices and whatnot. So with that, go ahead and grab your notes, and we'll get started. Okay. So the first one, we'll do it given the vertices and the foci. But first, we'll label this 7.3 hyperbola equations, which might be the title of our notes from yesterday as well. If you want to put day 2 on there so you can differentiate them, feel free. And again, this is something that's more easily done or just by seeing examples and then giving it a try yourself. So example 1. We are going to be told that the vertices are 3, 4 and negative 5, 4. And the foci are 4, 4 and negative 6, 4. All right. So just like we did when we were working with ellipses, if you're given information like this, it's a good idea to kind of graph that so you can see kind of what we're working with here. So I would probably start by going 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And graphing all of these points. So we know the vertices are at 3, 4 and negative 5, 4. And foci are at 4, 4 and negative 6, 4. Okay, so knowing this, we know that our hyperbola is going to look something like this. That means we're dealing with a horizontal transverse axis, which means that we're working with the equation x minus h squared over a squared minus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. We also know that the center is halfway between the vertices. So if these are my vertices, my transverse axis length here, well, we're going from negative 5 over to 3. So that axis length is 8. And halfway in between those would be my center, which would be 4 units over from either of them. So my center is going to be at negative 1, 4. And what we need to do in order to figure out my equation here is find h, k, a, and b. So we already found h, k, and a just by drawing it and kind of drawing conclusions from the picture. Because 1 and 4, or negative 1 and 4, will be h, k. So now we just need to figure out what b is going to be. And we can do that by figuring out what c is and then using a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay. And so on the graph, The way that we would find C has to do with the foci here. So the distance between the foci divided by 2 is going to be your C value. Just like the distance between the vertices divided by 2 was your A value. So from here at -6 for an X value to here at 4 for an X value, that distance is 10. So that tells me that C is 5. You can also do that from just looking at these numbers here and go, okay, well, 4 and -6, the distance between those is 10. So then C is 5. You can do it here as well. Oops, that should have been a 4. Goodness. Sorry if that was throwing anybody off. I think I said 4 and wrote 5 for some reason. Had 5 on the brain. Yeah, thanks, Paige. Sorry about that. Someone's paying attention here. Okay. And you can do the same thing here with the 3 and the -5. Well, the distance between those is 8, so A is 4. So there's kind of 2 different ways you can find A and C from either the graph or from the coordinates themselves. Either way, I like drawing the picture because then I can kind of see what's going on and it makes it a little bit easier to find the center. But either way is fine. So now that we have A and C, we can use A squared plus B squared equals C squared to figure out what B is. And then we can plug all of those things into our equation. So A was 4 and C was 5. So that means that, well, for those of you who are familiar with Pythagorean triples, B is going to be 3. But anyway, 16 plus B squared equals 25. So B squared is 9, so B is 3. And now we can plug all of those things in. So X minus H is going to be X minus -1, which is X plus 1 squared, over A squared, and A is 4, so that would be 16. Minus Y minus K, so Y minus 4, squared over B squared, and since B is 3, B squared is 9. And that equals 1. So that would be our equation given these vertices and these foci. All right. Any questions from this? Any numbers we're not sure where they came from, or steps we're not sure why they happened or how they happened? Okay. And I mean, once you find your B value and stuff like that, and your HK, A, and B, all of those, you could, if you wanted to, graph the or find the asymptote equations and graph those to make your graph of the hyperbola a little bit more accurate. But on this sort of a question, we would typically only be asked to find the equation. So we're good to go. All right, let's try another one, but with given different information this time. So this time, we are going to be given the foci and the length of the transverse axis. We have -2, 3, and -2, -11 for our foci. Okay. So for this one, I would start off the exact same way, graphing what we're given. So let's see, we're going to need quite a long part there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You could scale it by 2 if you don't want to draw 11 dash marks there. So -2, 3 would be one focus. -2, -11 would be the other focus. And that's all the information that we're given that we can graph right now. But once we find the center, we can use the transverse axis to help us with some other stuff. So the center is also halfway between the foci. So you can either think of it as we've got, okay, from 3 to -11, the difference there is 14. That means that C is 7. And so I could go down 7 from here or up 7 from here, and that would make me halfway in between these two, and we're good. Or you could always count the distance between the two and then figure out where halfway is. Either way is fine. So I go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that would be my center. And in this case, then the center would be -2, -4, since that's 7 down from 3. So that would be HK. All right. So we found HK and C. That's everything that we can find just from the foci. Now we have to bring in that transverse axis length. So we know the transverse axis is 2A. So that means that A is 4. So using that, if I want to, I could find the vertices and make my graph a little bit better looking here, because I would just have to go from the center up 4 and down 4. And then we know that our hyperbola is going to look something like that. We don't really need that because we weren't asked to graph it, but if you did, that's what we have. So also knowing that our transverse axis is vertical here, that tells us we're going to be working with the equation y minus k squared over a squared minus x minus h squared over b squared equals 1. So in our search for h, k, a, and b, that's still what we need to find, as always. In our search for h, k, a, and b, we have h, we have k, we have a. Now we just need to find b. So again, using a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We know c was 7 from the foci. So that would be 7 squared. A was 4. So that would be 4 squared. And then we're looking for b squared. So 16 plus b squared equals 49. Subtracting 49 from both sides, we get b squared is 33. And really all we need in order to write our equation is b squared. We don't actually have to solve for b, although it would be the square root of 33, which, you know, is not going to come out to something nice. But now we have enough to write our equation. Y minus k would be y minus -4, so plus 4, squared, over a squared, so 16. X minus h would be x minus -2, which is x plus 2. And then b squared was 33 equals 1. So there we go. Any questions from that one? Any numbers we're not sure where they came from, or steps we're not sure how they work or what's going on? All right. If not, I'm going to give you guys one to try, and then the rest of the time is going to be yours to work on whichever assignment you've chosen. You'll see your options in a moment as well. Okay, so here we go. Let's see, we'll do the vertices and the foci. So the vertices for this one will be, go -8, 9, and -8, -15. And the foci will be -8, 10, and -8, -16. So for that one, go ahead, graph the coordinates and figure out the equation of your hyperbola. When you think you've got it, put "got it" in the chat, and I might give us little hints along the way just in case anyone gets stuck. You're on the right track if you figured out that A is 12, that HK is -8, -3, and that C is 13. All right, several people think they've got it. We figured out that b is 5, or that b squared is 25. That was the last thing we needed to find. So we should end up with, for our equation, y plus 3 squared over 144 minus x plus 8 squared over 25 equals 1. If that is what you got, you are correct. If you got something else, see if you can find where something went wrong. Maybe we accidentally put a minus in one of these or a plus here. Those are common mistakes on these. Or if you accidentally put 12 under here instead of 144, that's another thing a lot of people do. Anyways, any questions from this one? Any numbers we don't know where they came from? I know I didn't put all of the work for it out here for this. Any questions? Find the center from the graph again. Good question. So the center is exactly halfway between the vertices or halfway between the foci. That should be the same location. So if you were to draw a line from like one vertex to the other and find the halfway point there, that's where the center will be. You can also do it off of the coordinates. If we notice that the difference between these coordinates is 24, if you cut that in half, you get 12, and then you can just start at one vertex and walk down 12 to get to the center, which is kind of what you end up doing anyway with the graph. We notice that this distance here is 24, and so you can go up 12 or you can go down 12, and that would get you to the center. And you can do that with the foci too. You can notice the distance between those is 26. So you could just go down 13 and that would get you to the same location, or up 13. All right, any others? Numbers we're not sure where they came from or anything like that? All right, then today's homework assignment, like I mentioned, is your choice between an IXL section or a worksheet. So let's go over to Google Classroom real quick. We'll take a look at that. Sure, you could do both if you would like. You're always welcome to do extra practice. So for this assignment, you've got some choice. You can do IXL P12, which is linked here, to a SMART score of 80, or you may complete the attached worksheet. Whichever one is you like is fine. You get extra points. Sure, if you want to do both, I'll give you extra points. Yeah, if you want to do both, I'll give you bonus points. Just make sure that when you turn it in on Google Classroom, that you note either that you did the IXL or you did the worksheet, or if you did both, make sure you let me know so I don't miss it. This is what the worksheet looks like. It's 3 pages because the worksheet insisted on printing graph paper. So it's not crazy amount of problems. It's just that you can only fit 4 problems on a page with graphing. Yes, both are equal in points. So anyway, there are 18 questions on. Oh, oops. Don't do 15 through 18. We have not done that kind of problem yet. We're going to do those kind of after break. So don't worry about 15 through 18 on the worksheet. Just do up through number 14 on the worksheet. I will make note of that on the assignment as well for anyone who doesn't see it or, forgot which ones. But anyways, 14 problems on the worksheet or IXL section or both. Any questions before we get going? Okay, then If you have questions about anything at all, feel free to stick around. Otherwise, you are free to go and get working on assignments.